When you think of muscle cars, your mind probably jumps to big V8 engines roaring like lions. But did you know that some of the coolest muscle cars from the past had four-cylinder engines? That's right, smaller engines, but still packing enough punch to leave a mark. Today, we're taking a trip down memory lane to look at 8 of the best four-cylinder muscle cars from back in the day. These cars might not scream as loud as their V8 cousins, but they're definitely worth your attention. Number 8. Ford Pinto, 1970 to 1980. Starting our list is the Ford Pinto. Yep, I can hear you already. But isn't that the car that used to blow up? Well, yeah, about that. The Pinto did earn an unfortunate reputation for catching fire in rear-end collisions, but don't let that overshadow the fact that it had a peppy little four-cylinder engine that could move. When Ford introduced the Pinto, it was meant to compete with other small cars flooding the market. Under the hood, the Pinto came with a 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine as standard, but later models could be equipped with a 2.3-liter engine producing around 100 horsepower. Now, 100 horsepower might not seem like much today, but back in the 70s, for a car this small and light, it was a decent amount of muscle. In 1979, Ford introduced a turbocharged version of the 2.3-liter engine, which made the Pinto a legitimate contender in the compact performance market. Though it was a bit risky to drive, for obvious reasons, there's no denying that the Pinto was one of Ford's more interesting experiments in muscle car history. Number 7. Pontiac Sunbird Turbo, 1976 to 1980. The Pontiac Sunbird Turbo was Pontiac's attempt to squeeze some excitement out of a four-cylinder engine. It wasn't the most well-known muscle car of its time, but that doesn't mean it didn't deserve a spot on this list. Think of it as the quiet kid in class, who ends up surprising everyone with their secret talents. With a turbocharged 2.0-liter, four-cylinder engine, the Sunbird Turbo was able to crank out about 150 horsepower. That was a pretty big deal in the late 70s, when most cars were being held back by fuel regulations and emissions controls. While it wasn't designed to be the fastest car on the block, it had enough power to give you a thrill when you put the pedal down. Pontiac's Sunbird was stylish too, with sharp lines and sporty looks. If you were cruising down the street in one of these, you were bound to turn a few heads, even if it wasn't because you had the biggest engine. Number 6. Chevrolet Cosworth Vega, 1975 to 1976. Chevrolet wasn't messing around when they decided to team up with British engineering firm Cosworth to build the Cosworth Vega. This wasn't just your run-of-the-mill four-cylinder car. It had some serious pedigree behind it. The Cosworth Vega featured a 2.0-liter, four-cylinder engine with an all-aluminum block. That was cutting-edge technology at the time. With Cosworth's help, Chevy managed to pull 110 horsepower out of that small engine. Which was no small feat for a car this light. The Vega wasn't just about straight-line speed. It was designed to handle too. Chevy wanted this car to perform on twisty roads, and they succeeded in building a nimble little machine that could keep up with much larger, more powerful cars. This was the kind of car that would make you smile as you took it through winding mountain roads. Though it was only produced for 2 years, the Cosworth Vega made a lasting impression as one of the most advanced four-cylinder muscle cars of its era. And hey, how many muscle cars do you know that were developed with help from a British racing company? Number 5. Plymouth Aerojet, 1976 to 1980. The Plymouth Aerojet might not have been the most powerful car of its time, but it definitely had style and a bit of muscle. This car came equipped with a 2.6-liter four-cylinder engine, which wasn't a powerhouse by any means, but delivered a respectable 105 horsepower. That may not sound like a lot today, but in the late 70s, it was more than enough to make a car like the Aerojet a fun drive. The Aerojet was built on a compact platform, which made it light and nimble. Its small size and weight made it feel quicker than the numbers would suggest. It was the kind of car that would dart through traffic like a skilled boxer dodging punches. Plymouth even gave it some sporty touches like racing stripes and a spoiler. It was a budget muscle car with just enough flair to let people know you were driving something fun. Sure, it wasn't going to win any drag races, but who cared? It was affordable, it looked cool, and it was a blast to drive. Number 4, Ford Mustang SVO, 1984 to 1986. You can't make a list of muscle cars without mentioning the Ford Mustang, but here, we're focusing on the Mustang SVO, a special version that came with a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Yep, you read that right. A 4-cylinder Mustang. The Mustang SVO was Ford's way of trying to blend muscle car performance with modern technology. It came with a 2.3-liter turbocharged engine that pumped out between 175 and 205 horsepower, depending on the model year. That might not seem like much compared to modern Mustangs, but in the mid-80s, that was serious power. The SVO was all about balance. It wasn't just fast in a straight line, it handled well too, thanks to upgraded suspension and brakes. This car was built to carve corners as well as burn rubber. The turbocharged engine gave it a satisfying rush of power when you floored it. And the aggressive styling let everyone know you meant business. It was a Mustang, but with a high-tech twist. And it's one of the most unique muscle cars Ford ever built. Number 3, Dodge Omni GLH, 1984 to 1986. Okay, let's get one thing straight. The Dodge Omni GLH wasn't your typical muscle car. In fact, it didn't look anything like a muscle car. It was a small, boxy hatchback that looked more suited for grocery runs than racing. But don't let its humble looks fool you. This thing was fast. The GLH, which stands for Goes Like Hell, yes, really, was the brainchild of Carroll Shelby. You know, the same guy who made the Cobra. He took the humble Dodge Omni, added a 2.2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, and turned it into a monster. With 146 horsepower in a car that weighed next to nothing, the Omni GLH could sprint from 0 to 60 in under 8 seconds, which was pretty wild for a hatchback in the 80s. The GLH was also affordable, which meant that ordinary folks could get their hands on some serious performance without breaking the bank. It was the ultimate sleeper car. No one expected it to be fast, but when you floored it, this little hatchback left much bigger cars in the dust. It was like having a rocket-powered grocery cart, and we mean that in the best possible way. Number 2, Mercury Capri Turbo RS, 1979 to 1986. The Mercury Capri Turbo RS was like the Ford Mustang's cooler, lesser-known cousin. It shared a lot of its mechanical bits with the Mustang, including its turbocharged 2.3-liter engine, but it had a bit more European flair. The Capri Turbo RS had around 140 horsepower, which, again, was respectable for the time. The Capri was marketed as the import fighter, but it was more than just a Mustang knockoff. It had sleek lines and a sporty design that made it look fast even when it was sitting still. The turbocharged engine gave it enough kick to make it fun to drive, and it was nimble enough to handle curvy roads with ease. The Capri Turbo RS was never quite as popular as the Mustang, but it definitely had its fans. It was the kind of car that flew under the radar. Not everyone knew what it was capable of, but those who did knew it was something special. Number 1, Buick Skyhawk, 1975 to 1980. Finally, at number 1, we have the Buick Skyhawk, a car that was often forgotten, but deserves a round of applause. The Skyhawk wasn't your typical Buick. It was a small, sporty car with a 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine that was surprisingly quick for its size. With 110 horsepower, it was nimble and fun to drive, especially in a time when muscle cars were starting to lose some of their edge due to stricter regulations. The Skyhawk had a sporty design that made it look fast even when it wasn't, and its lightweight frame meant that it didn't need a massive engine to feel quick. It was Buick's attempt to keep up with the smaller, more efficient cars coming out of Europe and Japan, and while it didn't achieve legendary status, it carved out its own little niche in muscle car history. Wrapping it up, who says you need a V8 to have fun? These four-cylinder muscle cars from the 60s, 70s, and 80s prove that good things can come in small packages. From the explosive Ford Pinto to the turbocharged Mustang SVO, these cars had heart, even if they didn't have massive horsepower numbers. They might not have been the kings of the drag strip, but they were more than capable of putting a smile on your face. Plus, they were perfect for those who wanted muscle car style without having to stop at every gas station along the way.